I have to film the intro to this and then we can go. Hello? I didn't know you were playing still.
Wanna live a life.
Welcome back to my channel. So today we kind of got something a little different. I'm gonna do a very basic kind of get ready with me quick tutorial of how to do your makeup, but also have it last all day. So definitely something a little different, but I do get a lot of requests from people, either people that I know or on social media, asking me how I get my makeup to last all day long. Sometimes I don't wear a lot of makeup, I don't wear a lot of eyeshadow. As you can see here, this is just kind of what I will do every day if I'm going into work. But if you want to see how I created this look and how to make your makeup last all day long, then just keep watching. Okay, so the first thing that I typically do whenever I'm trying to have my makeup last all day without really doing too much, of course I don't really like using heavy products unless I absolutely have to. So this is just a hack that I've learned and have done many times of how to get your makeup to last pretty much all day long without fail. So, you know, I live in a place where it's very hot. When it starts to heat up in the summer, it's pretty difficult to keep makeup on. But I think what I've figured out is kind of what works best for me. I do have an oily combination skin type, so it's kind of hard for me to find makeup and things like that that actually works for me. But there are things that you can do to get your foundation to actually last longer without having to buy a super expensive foundation. So the first thing that I do is I will go in with a some sort of moisturizer. Normally I get oily throughout the T-zone here, and then everything else is kind of dry. Like I can kind of feel it right in here. Like this whole area along my jawline is really, really dry, but this area here is pretty oily, even after showering and doing all my skincare stuff. So what I normally like to do is use any type of moisturizer. It's really up to you of your preference of moisturizer. I would say not to have anything that's too heavy because you want it to actually soak into the skin and not really leave any residue on the skin. But the one that I like to use is the Drunk Elephant Polypeptide Cream, which is this one here. So it comes in a little white container with a blue lid on top. And it is just a basic cream. And then I'll take that and just kind of rub that into the skin, making sure I kind of get my T-zone area pretty good. And then all these areas that are dry down here, I want to make sure that really soaks into the skin so we can put everything else on top. Okay, so after we let the moisturizer kind of set in just for a little bit, we're gonna use a translucent powder. It doesn't really matter what translucent powder you use. The one that I like to use is actually a powder that I'm not really too crazy about. So I don't mind really wasting it, but it's so this was the Becca Hydra Moist Set and Refresh Powder. It was this one here. Obviously, I've had it for a long time. It's pretty rough looking. But this one, so basically when this one came out, what it was basically, it was supposed to be like, it literally was supposed to feel cold and moisturizing, which it actually did when I had it before. And it was a weird feeling, honestly. I don't think I could say hydrating. It felt like it was cold, but I noticed it really didn't do too much as far as baking under the eyes and everything like that, because it was more meant to be like kind of just a set. I don't really know, but either way, this one's a light powder in my opinion. Like it's not heavy. It's not like my Airspun where it's really heavy and it's gonna sit in one place for a long time. So that's why I like using this one. But you can really use any loose translucent powder that you have. So we're just gonna go ahead and open this up. Ooh. And then I use a little, this is a Duo Fiber Powder Brush by Luxie. This is a 516. These brushes, in my opinion, are not bad at all. They're actually very good brushes. The price point on them is okay. Like, I don't think it's like bad. I don't think they're cheap quality either. It's just, these were sent to me. So I probably wouldn't purchase these. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a little bit of powder on the end. And let me grab my mirror here. And we're just gonna kind of lightly go over the face and kind of set that moisturizer in. Okay, so after we have all the powder on, and as you can see, now my face looks a little bit more mattified than it did prior to. So it does actually do its purpose of making sure that the moisturizer is set into the skin. Next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna take a setting spray. You can really use any setting spray you want, in my opinion. I have two that I like using. So I like using the Morphe Mattifying Continuous Spray. And then I think my ride or die all-time favorite is the MAC Prep and Prime, and this is in the matte. So I kind of use a combination of both of these whenever I'm doing this makeup look. A lot of times, I feel like this one the Morphe one has more of like a dewy glow to it at the end than the mattifying one does. So it's just kind of what I'm feeling for the day. But today, I think I'm gonna go ahead and use my MAC one, because this is one of my favorite ones that I like using anyways. And then what you wanna do is you wanna just spray your face just like you were normally setting your face after you were done putting on all your makeup. And then of course, we're just gonna let that dry. You do wanna make sure that the setting spray is completely dry before you move on to the next step. So do whatever you need to do in the meantime if you're working on your hair or whatever, but you do wanna make sure that the setting spray completely dries down before you move on to the next step. Okay, so now that the setting spray has completely dried down, what we're gonna do is you're gonna pick a primer, whatever primer you want. The one that I'm obsessed with and I live by is the Milk Hydro Grip Primer, which is this one here. This is one of my all-time favorite primers. I'm pretty sure I don't know why it's so good, but it is one of the best, and especially for somebody with oily skin, it's really difficult to find primers and foundations that actually will work for your oily skin. So this one is one that I do recommend. This one also does have a lot of grip to it, which is why I like it. And eventually I'm gonna do a video of the back to the basics so we can talk about things in depth of primers, foundations, things like that. Because I'm pretty sure I've tried everything under the sun at this point, so definitely want to give my 2 cents on my experience. But this one has a little bit of a tackiness to it, so whenever you put it on the skin, it kind of has that grip, which helps grip your foundation so it doesn't slide around throughout the day. So this is definitely one of my favorites. But what we're gonna do is I typically take about just one pump on the back of my hand. And this is actually an important step. I won't take a beauty blender like this. This is my damp beauty blender. I will use the back of it and get a little bit of the primer on the back of the sponge. And then I'm just gonna kind of pounce it in. Because the one thing that I see a lot of people, they'll just use their fingers and swipe it everywhere. But in my opinion, if you have a wet or tacky primer and you're trying to put it over powder that has been set with a setting spray, I feel like if you're doing that swiping motion, it's not actually gonna set into the skin the way that it should, and it could just swirl everything around. So I just personally like using a beauty blender for this step. I just feel like it's a lot more seamless, a lot easier, and it actually pushes the primer into your skin on top of the powder and everything else that we've done. Okay, so we're gonna kind of let that dry down, set into the skin just a tad. Now that we're at this step, this is where I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna conceal a little bit. The concealer that I really like using is the Stay Naked Correcting Concealer. So this is the one that I use here. And this is in the color 20 CP. We'll just put that in the areas where you just kind of need some extra coverage. Okay, and after we've blended all of that concealer in with the Beauty Blender, this is where we're gonna go ahead and apply our foundation. So the foundation that I like to use when I know I'm gonna be out for a while and I really need something to stay is gonna be the Urban Decay All Nighter Foundation. And this one is in the shade 6. So right now, as you can tell, I'm very tan and my face is very white. I do not put tanner on my face. It's just one of those things where I have large pores, and if you put tanner on your face, that's gonna seep into your pores and that's gonna clog your pores more. So something that I learned from competing years ago is that you're just not supposed to put self tanner on your face. It can really mess with the makeup and everything else. So I do cut my tan off right here. Literally when I do it, I cut it off right here. So I always have to use a foundation that is pretty dark so it can match my neck because I do blend everything downwards. So we're gonna go ahead. What I like to do with this is I'll take about 1.5 pumps on the back of my hand. This foundation is completely full coverage. It is pretty heavy if you apply it heavy. So what I normally do is I put about 1.5 pumps on the back of my hand with my wet Beauty Blender. And this does go an incredibly long way. You can really work with this for a while. And what I would recommend is if you don't want something that's super heavy on the skin, just to take about this much and really just spread it out because it will go far. And that way it won't be a heavy application, but it will still be full coverage. So normally I like to start at my jawline and kind of blend that down into the neck. And then I go up from there. All right. And as you can see, this was just 1.5 pumps. I didn't put anything else on the back of my hand. So this is 1.5 pumps and it literally covers everything. Next, what we're gonna do is we are going to apply a concealer and kind of highlight the areas of the face that we want to be highlighted. So the concealer that I use is, I'm pretty sure I've used it on my channel for so long now at this point. This is the e.l.f. 16-Hour Camo Concealer. It is one of the best that I've come across, and this is in the shade Light Sand. So what I like to do is I get really close to the inner corner and I put a lot of it there and kind of come down and then just sweep it out just a little bit. And then I'll put some right on the forehead. We'll go down the bridge of the nose. Cupid's bow. And then I'll do a little bit on my chin, whatever I have left over. And that was just one dunk of this concealer. I mean, this stuff goes a long way as well, so you really don't need too much. And then again, using that same Beauty Blender, we're just gonna go ahead and blend everything out. And I do have to say that this concealer can dry down pretty quickly, so you do kind of have to work quickly to blend everything in because you don't want any weird streaks or anything like that. Okay, and then after that, I will go in and set my under eyes. Since this is a quick look, we're not gonna bake under the eyes today. So what I like to do whenever I'm getting ready super quickly is I will use the Park Ave Princess palette here, which has everything from your contour to a highlight to kind of set everything. What I like to do is I like to mix these two lighter colors here in the palette to go underneath my eyes, and I'll use a brush like this that's kind of flatter, and we'll just set this under the eyes and make sure that concealer doesn't budge. Also bring this up on my eyelid as well. Down the bridge of the nose just a little bit. And then on the chin and the Cupid's bow as well. And it's okay if it looks a little intense right now because I do kind of pack this on because I do kind of want to bake just a little bit, but not too much. And then the next thing, I will take my Urban Decay. This is the Stay Naked powder, which is this one here. It comes in this little component. And when you open it up, there it is on the inside. This one has been dropped and broken like 1,000 times, so it looks pretty rough right now. And I'll use a big fluffy brush like this. This is just some random fluffy brush that I think my mom got me for Christmas. I have no idea who it is or what kind of brush it is, but you can use any fluffy brush that you have. This one that I'm using is in the color 40WY, and I'm just gonna go ahead and set the rest of my face with this, where I didn't set it with the Park Avenue palette. And then this step is where I'll kind of go over the highlight powder that I already put and just kind of blend everything together and sweep away any excess powder. Okay. I swear this video is not sponsored by Urban Decay. I truly wish it was. I just have a lot of Urban Decay products that I use and that I trust. So if Urban Decay did sponsor me though, or do a collaboration with me or whatever, it'd be pretty awesome because I use their products a lot. Next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and kind of warm up the face, contour the cheekbones. Normally when I'm darker like this, I like to mix both of them here. So these two here. This one has a shimmer, like a reflex in it, so I don't really like using this one that much. I like using the two matte ones more. And this brush that I'm using is another Luxie brush. This is a Luxie, oh my gosh, it's like almost worn off. I don't know what this one is. This is also a Luxie brush, but I've had it for so long and it goes with me pretty much everywhere that I go and every travel bag that all of the writing has worn off on the side of it. So I don't know which one this is. Sorry. I will take a little bit of this here on the back of the ear and I will sculpt out the chin just to make sure that we have some definition there as well. So the next thing that I'm gonna do while I have this palette open is I will go ahead and actually use this palette for some eyeshadow on the eyes just to get a little bit of dimension there. So I'm gonna use a Morphe M504, which is this one here. It's just a nice, big, fluffy brush. And I'm actually gonna tap into the Princess Cut, which is this one here. So not doing the darker one, that can be a little too dark, but I'm gonna go into the Princess Cut, which is a pretty good color for the eyelid. And we're just gonna kind of use that as eyeshadow. And this is something that you do very quickly, so I don't really try and make it neat. I just kind of get in there, slap it on. And I think doing this process, and then we're gonna take a little bit of that on the same brush and we're just gonna go ahead and blend it down the side of the nose here and push that back up into our brows. I always put a little bit at the end as well. Just like that. Then the next thing we're gonna do is throw on some blush. So really any blush that you like to use. I think my all-time favorite blush palette at this point is this Alamore palette. I don't even know how many times I've showed it on my channel at this point or in Instagram videos, but there are 3 blushes in there, which are these 3. I always use one of these 2. I pretty much every single time mix these 2 and it's just the perfect blush shade. So especially when I'm darker, when I have a more tan complexion, I do like to mix both of them together, but sometimes when I'm a little on the whiter side, I'll just go in with the Seclusion color, which is that more peachy color. And we're just gonna apply this to the apples of the cheekbones here. Now, before we move on to anything else, I'm pretty sure my lips have been through the ringer at this point. The weather's been changing like crazy, so I always like to take care of my lips as well. So we are gonna put on just a little bit of a liquid lip at the end of this, but normally at this point when I kind of have everything set, I like to go in and use the Jeffree Star Velour Lip Scrub. This is in the Flavor Orange Soda. And if you've never tried these before, I highly recommend that you do. They are completely vegan and they are edible. They do have a little bit of moisture in them as well, but they get pretty much all the dead skin off of your lips to set it up for liquid lipsticks or lipsticks or anything like that. So. Okay, and then after we exfoliate the lips, I like to go in with any type of chapstick really, but I've noticed that I can't ever find a chapstick that will not make my lips more dry. But this is one of the ones that I've been using for a really long time, and I actually do wear this underneath my liquid lips, which I do recommend if your lips tend to get dry. So this is the Vaseline Lip Therapy Rosy Lips. It looks like this right here. It's this tiny, tiny, tiny little thing, but I've used so much of it, as you can see. But I'll put some of this on the back of my nail, and then I'll just rub that into my lips and let that sit while I'm doing the rest of the makeup. So I'm gonna use the Morphe Mattifying Continuous Mist. This is this one here. And this is what we're gonna use to set the face today. I'm just gonna kind of pull my hair back and get that out of the way. And a lot of times too, what I like to do after I do my setting spray is I will take my beauty blender and I will blend around my face and just kind of push the setting spray into my face more, which does help lock in your makeup underneath. All right, guys, and that is it for this look today. This is just a quick, simple look that I like to do whenever I'm rushing or have a small amount of time to get ready. Normally, if I'm not talking and doing a video, me doing this look takes about 20-30 minutes around there. Sometimes I can make it faster depending on how determined I am, but this is definitely my go-to look that I use pretty much every day for work, and if I'm not doing anything too crazy, if I'm just running errands. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. And of course, if you haven't yet, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. Follow me on all my social media, which I will link below. And I will see you guys on the next one.